Dr. Barry, licensed psychologist, and here I share legal and entertainment news from a psychological perspective. And today I have a lot of emotions, and really the goal of today is going to be to just talk about number one, why I couldn't put myself through watching those videos. And I appreciate you all. So please know you all can always ask for me to cover something. So I have my boundary. So my boundaries are mine. And so you never have to feel bad. So if you ask me to cover something and I set my boundary, I do not feel bad. I understood why people wanted me to react to cover those videos, and to help us all understand what was going on. I think it was extremely clear what was going on, and I don't want to understand how someone can do what Sarah Boone did to him. I want to focus on how individuals that are in a situation like his, how they can get safe. If they're a female, a male, like I don't care about the gender of the individual. If somebody is in an unsafe situation, how can they get safe? Because one of the hardest things to do is to leave. And I have my color set up. So I normally have blue behind me for the month of October, for the rest of the month of October, I'm gonna have it kind of pinkish purple because that is domestic violence survivor. Like that is the color for domestic violence awareness. On my community tab, I shared the image that love shouldn't hurt. Watching those videos, so my stream ended. So I was streaming live. This week worked out. I was able to cover more of this trial than any other trial I've ever covered, and it just like I didn't so I if I had clients, I met with my clients, but, for some reason that Thursday, I had a 5 PM. So I got off, I got ready for that individual, we met, and I went back and I watched on Lori Reese's channel. I also watched Emily D. Baker, and then I watched Uncivil Law. And some of y'all might have seen me on Uncivil Law's channel because those videos broke Uncivil Law. And I think they broke us all. I had so many survivors in my comments talking about how triggering those videos were. The interesting thing for me was Wednesday. At the end of the day, when Dr. Harper testified, I was so scared that she was gonna get away with it. I did not sleep well. I didn't realize just how invested I had gotten into this case. How sad and sadistic is it that the suitcase video wasn't the worst video? No, it's bad. Like, it's not good, but I think Sarah Boone was in a habit of recording her torment of him, and I don't know if she watched it later. I don't know what she did with it, and I think she thought those videos made him look bad. But to me, the jury deliberated for less than an hour and a half. I was thinking they might take like 3 hours. I was prepared for it to possibly go until Monday. I wasn't sure, but someone that was in the courtroom said after the videos, so on Friday when the jury came back, so Thursday was the tough. That was the day of the videos. That was the day of the state's rebuttal case. On on Friday, when the jury came in, they didn't even look at her, and I get it. Welcome to Kat as a new member, welcome, and I am going to open, so I didn't wanna make this a members only stream. I wanted it to still be live, so at 1:45, I'm going to 1:45 my time, whatever 45 your time, I will open it to subscribers. So if you do have comments, in about 30 minutes, I will be able to do that. Oh, Allison, you used your line, my line, uh, with Lawn Lumber about not naming. Oh, thank you, thank you. Acknowledged it and agreed. Yeah, so so I don't say Sarah's son's name, and I ask you all to not say his name in the chat. I wanna call him Brian's son. So I believe Brian Boone is I think he is going to be able to terminate her parental rights. I am hoping she's going to be in jail for the rest of her life. That's my own personal thing. I will cover the sentencing on December 2nd. I already have it on my thing, on my what's the word? On my calendar. So, good morning, everyone. I did share the link for what I found. I do not know if this is the official one of the family. So, just before I went live, I was trying to find a good picture of George, and I found this. And so, I do not know if this is the official one of the family. So, please be careful on anything like this. I did share on the community tab because I saw his family they spoke on court TV, and, it was very powerful. I wanna give because they trusted court TV with that interview. I shared that. I don't have anything else to add. I agree with everything they said, that Sarah Boone was portrayed as this, "Oh, poor her, poor me," and she, in my opinion, was tormenting. And y'all, for Owens to get all upset, and I so Owens was supporting his client, but for Owens to get on there, to get up there and be mad that one of George's family was upset in the gallery during the video. Like, now, for court, you are supposed to manage your emotions. I think the individual might have had to get up and leave, but it is so much. So, I knew I was gonna do this today, and so honestly, it's been weighing heavily on me just to get these thoughts out, and then I'm done with Sarah Boone until December 2nd. So, I don't want to understand how someone like Sarah can do what she did. I want to understand how to help because Sarah wasn't going to change. And I think if Sarah had let him out the suitcase, I think he would have stayed. I honestly think he was so beaten down in that relationship. I hope I not it's not so I hope that he was leaving her. So that's some of the speculation that some of us that kinda like true crime. So Tanika's 2 cents, she mentioned it. Finding out that it was George's suitcase, so I didn't even realize going into this case, I always thought it was Sarah's suitcase. She talked about it like it was her suitcase, but she also talked about it like it was his birth certificate was her birth certificate, and oh, it's so, so scary. Welcome, welcome to new members. Oh, and no apology. Like I said, no apologies. I know a lot of people thought Sarah Boone might have borderline personality disorder. I work with individuals with that diagnosis, and they present very differently. I think Leilani Simmons I do not know her diagnosis. I was kind of getting possible borderline type features. She was found guilty as well, and she will be sentenced in the death of her son, her 20-month-old Quentin. And but I do this. Individuals with narcissism, it presents different. It really does. And I wonder if those psychologists had seen all of everything we saw, I wonder if they would have diagnosed her with narcissistic personality disorder. I have to say right now, as a homeless services case manager, I'm enraged by her keeping his ID and birth certificate from him. Exactly. They're hard to get. Sometimes you can't get work or housing without him. she 100% trapped him. And I added the 100%. Yes, smoke signals. Thank you for that super chat. I completely agree. Let me know. So, members, let me know if you all have questions. Welcome to the new members. I also saw Uncivil Law. So, welcome, Uncivil Law. I was glad I was able to stream with you the other day. I rarely do member only chats. So, like, but I didn't want to do this as I wanted everybody to be able to see the video, anyone who wanted to see it. I'm taking a breath because um the people that come in to work with me, um, to me, those videos were proof. I don't think she cared about anyone other than herself, and I'm not sure that she was capable of loving him. And not in like a, "Aw, poor," but like in a, I think he loved her. I really think he did, but I do not think that she even saw him as a person, and I think that was clear from all of those videos. I don't think she even saw him as a person, which is absolutely devastating. The state's closing was beautiful. Owen's closing was a bit chaotic to me. He even so in Owens's closing, he mentioned that she might have passed out, which, okay. Rebuttal was chef's kiss. Like, so if they had brought Brian Boone back, the jury might have thought that he was biased because she was because that's his ex, or I don't know what the jury might have thought. Oh, George's mom. Oh, wow. George's mom. I am not surprised that she was the one that had to leave. And I think the family uses humor to cope. So there were times that the court camera panned to them and they were joking and laughing. I don't think they were taking, and I didn't see anybody claim it, but I just wanted to explain. I think they're a good family. I think they're a happy family. And every family has it, like there's no such thing as a perfect family, but the monster that they tried to portray George to be, I wanted to apologize to the family because I believed that part of what she was saying might have been true. I do not believe a single word Sarah Boone says. I do not believe it. So Sarah, you have to let me know what you were watching. I just started Lincoln Lawyer. I had never started Lincoln Lawyer. And so I'm on season 1. I don't like it when I don't know what's gonna happen. So I already looked at like what's coming because my brain, I need to know what's coming. And I'm so glad that Judge Kranek, that he allowed her to, "Okay, you said enough. You gave us the scintilla of evidence to be able to present a self-defense claim, but nobody witnessed anything that she said. Nobody. Nobody witnessed it. The neighbors just heard loud stuff. They couldn't tell who was who, and she did not present any, like, outside of what she said, there was nobody else to corroborate anything that she said. Now, poor Miss Walker, but to me, Miss Walker didn't notice that Sarah was drunk, and I'm pretty sure a lot of the time Sarah was intoxicated. Um, so, uh, it's it's gonna take some time to unsee the things that we've seen, and secondary trauma is real, and that's why I didn't want to replay the videos, because seeing George in the corner, balled up in the fetal position, all I saw was PTSD in him. I never saw any ounce of PTSD and like based on the videos, based on even Sarah's testimony, she didn't come off. Now, I didn't watch it all. Okay. So when he was going through each picture of every incident, I didn't watch that portion. I was done with Sarah, I'll be honest. But when she was narrating her story, even when she was saying the thing that triggered her was him trying to get out the suitcase, and she said, "Why are you doing this to me?" Which is gaslighting at its finest. To me, she was the antagonizer, she was the antagonistic person, and I'm so glad that they asked Dr. Warner, who was the one who provoked this? And she was like, "Oh," or "Who was the aggressor?" You really? So, Owen, if Owens was gonna ask her that question, he should have asked her that during that deposition, because he wouldn't have asked her that question knowing that she felt that Sarah's history, because to mine, y'all let me know in the chat if I'm wrong. Up until that point, nobody knew that about Brian's past DV, like that Sarah was aggressive with Brian. And that's why the whole she had PTSD thing, it never felt right to me. And I did have somebody ask for more clarification about, so I think Dr. Harper was a really good expert. I think she knows her stuff because she taught me something that now I naturally, if I met with somebody that was coming out of a harmful relationship, I would not diagnose them with a personality disorder that very first session. If they had no trauma treatment, my first thing to do would be, "Hey, let's see if we can treat the trauma and then see what happens after that." I would try to see what their personality, how they were before that trauma, and I don't think Sarah was a good reporter. And the video where George was saying what he was gonna say in court, and it still wasn't good enough for her. He was the one trying to appease her. He was the one trying to do anything he could to just be loved, and that's just, it's so hard. Apparently, George's mom had never seen the video. Wow, during closing. I'm breathing. So I am a mom to a 7-year-old son. And I think I mentioned on Uncivil's stream that I don't like the way that we socialize boys. Cause so sometimes, or maybe it was Tanika's stream. So I was on Tanika's 2 cents, and this isn't, but somebody's saying hi to Tanika. Let me see if I can find her comment. I highlighted it earlier. Um, we sometimes socialize boys that if, or and girls too. So I don't think we should socialize girls to say, "Oh, if a boy is is teasing you, that means he likes you." No. Like, do better. Be kind. So my shirt says, "In a world where you can be anything, be kind." Like, no. If you like somebody, be nice to them. If you don't like somebody, still be, I don't care. Like, you don't have to like them, but you still have to be kind. That's something that I tell my son. So my son, we are working on his social skills. We are working on his socialization. He prefers mom and dad. He doesn't like to people. He's like he doesn't, he sees kids in his class as strangers. I'm like, "Dude, like no, like you," and so it is what it is. And I'm so there's a social skills class coming up that I'm going to register him for. But with being kind, because my thing is, hey, I don't care if you like a kid or not, be kind. Now, if somebody is being mean to him, now you have the right to stay safe. And I did not like in Owens's closing, he said, "There's never a reason for a man to put his hands on a woman." Because to me, there's no reason for a woman to put her hands on a man. For a woman to put her hands on a, like, don't hit people. That's assault. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Don't do crimes. Don't do crimes. Don't hit people. If you are so upset, if you're so like in a rage, you need to manage that. We don't make good decisions when we are in a highly emotional state. I thought When Owens was made to give that deposition on the spot, he probably could have asked for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever, but he was and from what I saw, it seemed like he was in his feelings, and it is what it is. Um, all right, let's see. Welcome. Her ex said an interview with police. Yes. And but that never came into the trial. The jury didn't get to see that. That never came into the trial. And welcome, mother to 4 grown men. It's important to know about the signs of men being victims of DV as well. So emotional harm. So if somebody has a partner that's saying, you ain't nothing. Like that all the things you heard Sarah saying to him, in my opinion, well, I think in everybody's opinion, that is emotional abuse. It just was. And, it was so horrific. Aw, I need you to get a burner. No, no, so no apology. No apology. My DMs are always open on Instagram. I don't always reply. So people sometimes I don't reply to the DMs, but, they are always open. Um, so more about those videos, him saying, "I love you to death." And I don't know if that was the moment, but there was one video where she was like, "I don't love you. I don't even like you." I think so drunk people tell the truth. Like drunk people, they lie about how much they've drank. So when drunk people lie, it's about how much they've drank. But if they're given an opinion when they're drunk, that's normally exactly how they feel. Alcohol takes away your filter. And I think she did not like him. She did not love him. I think she felt she could date somebody that she felt better than so that she could then stomp on somebody else. She was probably Brian sounds like he was a good parent. Um, so what are my thoughts on Sarah's facial expressions on the police cam? So I think Sarah was legit giddy to see them. I think I think she's the definition of somebody that needs to call and speak to the manager. She, in my opinion, weaponized the police against him. When he was hiding upstairs, and that's where I didn't follow everything because I wonder if she invited him over. Because it wouldn't surprise me if she did. It just wouldn't. But she went from giddy, and when the officer didn't like, because then she went to, "Hmm," so she went from, "Hmm," to, "Hmm." Her emotions are shallow. In my opinion, she's an incredibly shallow person. She's not very deep. Like, there's not that much, which is why she was not reliable, and I think everyone else agreed. I do think if she had been given a personality test, she might have flagged some antisocial traits as well, which is what we clinically call that's what we clinically call a psychopath. So antisocial, but that's against social norms, not against socializing with people. That's what clinically in the DSM-5, when we talk about antisocial personality disorder, that's what that is, and nothing. So, because some people are like, "Oh, poor Sarah, she needs treatment." No, no, she needs consequences. She has never had, in my opinion, a real consequence. So she harmed him and got to me, it was witness intimidation. If anyone had known that she was preparing him how to get rid of her charges, I feel like that was a crime too, my own personal thoughts. Not a lawyer, just psychologist. But a person, like I think if yeah, so it's just it's a whole thing. Um, aw. I wish more people were simplistic, like, because I don't think that people should think, "Oh, this is my friend because they're hurting me." No. Um, I don't think boys should, like, punch each other in, like, the privates either. Like, I don't think that's I don't I don't think that's good either. Um, so I felt that Owens was blaming George, and it did not go over well with the jury. I think the jury was identifying with George. And don't forget, there was someone on the jury that currently has a pending legal matter that is about they are a survivor of DV. So, um, do you think that assessing men and women inmates can misdiagnose PTSD because they're inmates? They may have never expressed those symptoms before being locked up. So the fact of being locked up can trigger PTSD. I have a family member that was incarcerated on and off. Um, he was likely the victim of DV, of emotional. So, wow, that's why this hit so hard. I hadn't made that connection until now. Give me a moment. So I have a family member who was incarcerated multiple times because their um oh wow, their child's mother, their girlfriend at the time, thank God they're not together, but she would keep calling the cops on him. My cousin, oh sorry, I guess I can say my family member is black. She was Caucasian, and where they were living, every time she called the cops on him, he would be the one that was arrested, and she would make allegations against him. I do think their relationship was toxic. It was not safe, but she would say and do things, and it's not okay. And the thing that helped him never go back to jail was leaving her. So he left her. I want to say it's like 5 years. It's been years, maybe 4. He left her years ago and has never been incarcerated again, because it was that relationship, and what happened was he came back to family. Um, wow. And as family, like, we never had any shame, and to me, like, yes, if you put your hands on somebody and you leave a mark, yes, like, that's a problem. I wish there was more things to just make sure of what all happened, but, it's just wow, that's why this one hits a little harder. I did wanna share some resources, and I have a ton of resources down in the description, and so the thing I would have wanted, people kids and teens to know, so this is from teensforcourage.org. I have the link in the description, but it talks about the relationship spectrum, that a healthy relationship has open, calm communication, individuality is maintained, it's honest and privacy, there's honesty and privacy, there's earned mutual trust, there's respect for one another's values, and there's equal agency in decision making. In an unhealthy relationship, there can be suspicion, mistrust, there can be a lack of individuality, there can be a lack of communication, there can be dishonesty and lying, there can be domineering behaviors, there can be inconsiderate behaviors. And then at the other end of that harmful relationship, there is control by one or both partners. There can be control, there can be threats, it's unsafe, it's heartful, it's hurtful, there's isolation, there's monitoring, there's denial or minimization of harm, and there's blame shifting and accusation. And I have seen signs of unhealthy and even those harmful relationships in individuals as young as 12 and 13, where they are dating a peer who is exhibiting unhealthy or even harmful characteristics. Now, I Teach them, because so one of the best things you can do if you know somebody that is in an unsafe relationship is to, number 1, let them know you love them. I love you and I'm here for you no matter what. No matter what you choose, please know I'm here. The other thing that I would want them to know is that, and y'all, I'm gonna open up the chat. Just give me a second. I'm trying to talk and do things at the same time. I've been trying to do that for like the last 5 minutes. Um, that with the you so you don't tell them this person is harmful. They need to come to that thought on their own. I will say that again. If you know and love someone that is in an unsafe, unharmful relationship, sometimes you can ask questions like, "Hey, does he tell you everywhere or does she tell you everywhere they go?" And it's like, "Oh, no, but I have to make sure I tell them." It's like, "Oh, wow. That's huh. Are you okay with that?" I just it's what I gotta do." "Okay. Just know I'm always here for you." You might give them a resource that has information about relationships. I think if somebody is involved, if they if you suspect that the relationship is antagonistic, like the one that we saw with George and Sarah, being able to say that, um, being able to say, um, giving them information like Dr. Ramani's book, It's Not You, giving them a book, Dr. Copley. So Dr. Laura Copley wrote a book called Loving You is Hurting Me. I'll say that again. There's a book called Loving You is Hurting Me. And so love can be complicated. And we're going to talk about Love is Blind next. Like that's going to be the next stream to just kind of get all the Sarah stuff. Ugh, like I'm just this is my last Sarah stream until sentencing. And then I want to be done with Sarah Boone forever and ever. But with this type of situation, to me, loving her was hurting him. And I don't know that he saw it. I don't know that he knew that he deserved better. So Christy, the issues with Brian was not it I don't so we never saw why it didn't come in. So the defense never cross-examined Brian, correct? The defense never cross-examined Brian Boone. 'Cause remember they said that they would hold off their cross until later? So I thought the defense was gonna call him in their rebuttal. They might have been upset that they weren't able to bring up the alimony payments. I think Owens was the one that mentioned that she was getting the $1,000 from Brian, or maybe it came up as but nobody had mentioned the number from what I saw. But yeah. Alright. And so let's see. Um Do you think she recorded and so, it's so Sarah knew all of these videos existed. Sarah knew every single one of these videos existed, and I think she thought they made him look bad, and they made her look so bad. So bad. Anybody think Owens and team had viewed all those videos? I think he did because, I think in order to prepare because the state prepared exactly which videos, so they probably knew exactly which videos those were gonna be. And there were people in the chat on Law and Crime, and that's not a good I don't know, but there were people that thought the videos made George look bad, and I didn't think that at all. I did not think that they made him look bad at all. And so, welcome, puppies, girl. I'm not gonna try to say the last part. Welcome, Shani D. Hey. Um, did anyone else notice how childlike she got when talking to the police? And so to me, he seemed traumatized by the whole situation. He seemed genuinely shocked and surprised and confused. She seemed so she got flirty too, which was weird, but it is what it is. Welcome, Zimmy. And definitely don't record yourself doing crimes, but sorry, Shanny. I opened it up. I opened it up to everybody. It was taking me a minute to get there. Sometimes my multitasking game is, like, amazing, sometimes it's not. And the 911, oh my gosh. And I'm so glad the state included that 911 call where she just starts talking to the dogs. She's on the call with 911 and just starts talking to the dogs. And so I am spoiled, but I'm not a brat. My child is spoiled, but I try to teach him gratitude. So I grew up the only child of my mom. I was the first grandchild, and so I was spoiled, but, my child is the only grandchild for my mom because I 'cause I'm her only child, and then he's the only grandchild for my husband because my husband is an only child. So my child is very but you can be spoiled and not be a brat. You can still have boundaries, you can still have consequences, and so did I see the text that she belittled him for being Puerto Rican? Yes, I did. The state didn't read that one. They left that one for the jury. I saw that over on Emily D. Baker's stream. She paused it and read that one. Could you discuss how Sarah Boone was sectioned, psych hold? Oh, her two psych holds. Would she have been diagnosed there? Any psych profile done? So I think that's where the generalized anxiety disorder and then also the alcohol abuse. So she was given an alcohol abuse. Um, uh, I think that's where those two diagnoses came from. Where are the videos of her? Whoa, sorry. Where's the videos of her? So there was no video. There was. I don't think those videos existed. There was absolutely no respect. So Sarah, sometimes I don't know how to work when I'm tagged and stuff. I think I saw one. Sometimes I struggle with Twitter. I'll just be honest. Sometimes I struggle. Um, People can be addicted to each other. So that's where I talk about trauma bonds. Let me pull up that information. Trauma. I want to keep this one. So what a trauma bond is, um but that I think George was trauma bonded to Sarah. I don't think Sarah was bonded to him in any way outside of him being the source of her narcissistic supply. Him being the one, him not being in her life, it's like she got bored. And anytime she wanted him, but she was the one in control of like of where he slept, when he slept. Sometimes with individuals with narcissistic traits, the things they say other people are doing are often the things they're doing because you saw on one of the videos him just asking her like, "Hey, I just want to know what time you're coming home." Like it wasn't even a controlling thing to me. When I saw that video, she probably stayed out all night and when she gets drunk, she gets friendly. We saw that with the police officers. And she gets friendly with men and women. I saw that in the police video. And no, like I'm like it's okay, love who you love, but if you're in a monogamous relationship and if you're demanding monogamy from your partner, you can't be out. Okay, but okay. So a trauma bond is an emotional connection that develops between an a harmful person and their victim in a harmful relationship. This bond can form over time and can be based on that pattern of emotional and or different types of harm. Okay. Um, he might have thought that he was trying to help her too. I don't it was very strange. I want to share this. It wants me to log in. I don't want to log in. Okay. So often within a trauma bond, there is this rescuing, enabling, saving each other. With an authentic connection, we learn, witness, we evolve together. So I'm not responsible for my husband's emotions. Like if he's had a bad day, now I'm a supportive person. And then he's supportive of me. So late at night, that's normally when we get our time to just kind of hang out. And he might ask me, okay, do you want to watch NCIS or do you want to watch Abbott Elementary? If I've had a tough day, I might say Abbott Elementary because I might just need to laugh. And if I really don't care, I might say, hey, you choose tonight or whatever. But I think she used alcohol to control him. I think he was easier for her to control when he was drinking. And because if you saw in some of the text messages, he would also use alcohol to try to connect with her. Because I think on one of it, he was like, "Hey, I cut grass with my dad, and I was able to get a handle." That means vodka, and vodka was her drink of choice. I think Brian Boone was the one that said that. But I do think there was this back and forth. With a trauma bond, there can be a chronic fear of abandonment. Within a safe, authentic connection, partners work to create safety with each other. And to me, in a safe relationship, if I've told y'all, if my husband said, "Hey, I don't want to do this anymore," like now, and you know, if he wanted to leave, he is not a prisoner. Like he can we are not a cult. We are not a high demand group, and that's where unsafe relationships can be like cults or a high demand group, but it's a cult of two. And Sarah was the leader, in my opinion. In my opinion, she was the one that was controlling him. So we did the "Can people be addicted to each other?" Yes. All right. Ooh. Kelly D, I saw your question about Carly Gregg's boyfriend. Oy. Um, I did cover that case. I did also see that she lost her appeal, which it doesn't surprise me. Um, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. Now, in the future, her sentence might be redone similar to the Menendez brothers. Um, I am supportive of the Menendez brothers getting their like being up for parole. So they're gonna have to go before the parole board, and that board is gonna decide have they done enough to re-enter society. But that's a whole other conversation. Do you think Sarah's gonna keep writing letters to the judge or others? If there's a Florida attorney in the chat, let me know if appeals are paper only. Because often in Virginia, I know for family court, appeals are often like when people appeal to the next court, um, sometimes appeals are paper only once it gets out of circuit. So I think once things get to a certain level, it's paper only. Owens was clear that he will not be her appellate lawyer, and he also clarified that he doesn't have any rights to her story or anything like that. I could see him like writing a book, but it maybe not about Sarah, just a book about himself or trying to go on court TV or something like that. Um, and I don't have any hate because I would love to be a guest on court TV. All right. So thank you for opening the comments to subscribers. Yes, yes. And I do know, so please, so subscribing is free, and I appreciate each and every one of you, each and every one of you. Um, welcome, welcome. make sure to put QQ or question if you have a question. Is it true that narcissism cannot be treated? The narcissist has to want treatment. That's often the first hurdle to an individual with narcissistic personality getting treatment. They have to want treatment. Now, there are individuals, there's a guy on YouTube and TikTok, y'all probably know in the chat, healing, uh, and he often gives education on narcissism, um, tips from a narcissist. 'Cause that's what his channel does. He that's what he calls his videos. He has embraced his diagnosis. Um I'm bad with names, but there's a guy on TikTok and YouTube that talks about it, and he did seek treatment. I think things got to a pretty bad place where finally he had to be like, "Is it me?" And yeah. So Sarah hasn't got to the point where she's realized, "Wait a minute, I effed myself over. I did this to myself." I am so glad that we had those videos. Can you imagine if we didn't have she might have got away with this, which is what's scary. The scary part about all of this is that if she hadn't been such a narcissistic, sadistic, like, and I'm saying that because the doctors diagnosed her with those traits. If she hadn't been like she was, she might have got away with it. I'm so glad that they do the cell phone extractions, and I'm glad that she did. I wish he had got out sooner. That's what I wish, but it's so hard. All right. I also just wanted to talk about how men are often overlooked as victims of DV. And some reports have said, and I think this is from the UK, I want to say. I want to say this is from the UK. Um, and they've developed resources in the UK specifically to support male victims. Um, and that's what I saw with Kurt on Uncivil Laws stream was just as a man knowing. So if let's talk about this. If George had done exactly what Sarah did, I believe he would be charged with first degree. Let me know if y'all disagree in the chat. If George had done exactly what she did, I think the state would have charged if it had been a man that trapped a woman in a suitcase, even if that woman had if it had been the other way around, if it had been George that did that to her, I think he would have been charged with first degree. I th I think on her phone, she had a text, "I'm gonna get rid of him." I know she's saying it was not intentional. We'll never know. She lies. She lies. L&B, we can see you. Welcome, welcome. She lies. I'm way behind on the chat. So that's what's happening here. So I'm at comments that are from 153. The videos. So I didn't um my heart broke. I think I was driving home. I think I was driving home when I was listening to them, and, like, the phone part off, and I went back and watched again. It was so tough. In my opinion, it was a game to her. She put her defense forward. She kept escalating. I'm so glad the state got justice for George. I'm just so I was a little worried that the jury might have considered manslaughter because even the lawyer said, "Well, it might be," but that was before those videos came out. I think those videos proved depraved mind. I think they very much proved depraved mind. And, um, let's see which other resources. So there's also Mankind, which is another resource out of the UK. I like sharing international resources sometimes because I know I do have an international audience. I also have a resource down below of how to get out of a harmful relationship. And when you go to leave, that is the most unsafe time. And hear me when I say, if anyone is in an unsafe situation and you decide to leave, find a safe person, like find somebody that you can plan with that will not tell anyone, because you have to leave quietly. You can't leave loud. You often leave because, let's say they go off on a business trip, you leave then. While they're at work, you leave then. Like, you don't leave, um, publicly, because that is 100% the most unsafe time for a survivor of DV. It was odd, but not really. So Sarah was the perpetual victim. I think she thought the jury might agree with her, might believe her. I think she thinks she's good at lying, or I don't know, or I think she thinks she's good at presenting her story and her narrative, but in my opinion, she lacks insight into what other people would do, like, into what's okay and what's not okay. Because she's on 911 and the operator has to tell her, "Ma'am, this is not n like," she's like, "He took the bike I gave him." "Ma'am, that's a gift." Like, that's why are we having this conversation? And, so if I was working with somebody with narcissistic traits or with narcissistic personality disorder, I would. They would have to be open to feedback. So I've talked about this before, that if the people I'm most likely to treat is their partner and their children or their friends. I'm most likely to treat somebody that has been harmed by them. I'm not likely to actually get to treat that individual. I have worked with children that I was pretty sure the parent was pretty antagonistic, and I was able to teach teenage kids tips about gray rock, or it's not you, when they're upset, because that narcissistic parent or that person with those antagonistic traits expect the child to take care of them emotionally. And there is a great book called Adult Children of Emotionally Immature Parents. I've mentioned that book before. I think also Set Boundaries, Find Peace by Nedra Glover Tawwab is another really great one. Um, and so, yes. So please, if you're asking questions, please just keep putting them in the chat. I am at a minute 56, so I'm catching up. How do you diagnose someone when they lie about everything? Must be difficult. So there are tests that can catch that. So Dr. Curry, the great Dr. Curry, who practices right here in the state of Virginia, where I am, she gave Amber Heard the personality assessment inventory. And that's where we heard about validity measures. And there are questions on personality tests to see the person's what we call response style, how they're answering the questions. And there are some cues that somebody might not be being completely forthright. So when I don't do them anymore, but when I used to do custody evaluations, it was really common for individuals to underreport symptoms because they want to look good because this is for court. Or if I'm doing a disability assessment for someone to overreport symptoms, and not because, but it's just they really, or somebody that's in crisis and they really want help, for symptoms to be overreported as a cry for help. And so um that can definitely happen. Do I think he hit her? So I think the black eye situation, my understanding of what happened is she was choking him and he kicked her in the face. That's how she got the black eye. Like, it's my understanding. And in order to survive her attacking him, he had to get her off of her the best way he could. Um, I think she hit him, and I think he so Brian Boone described when she got really drunk, she would start coming at him, and he had to sometimes, like, restrain her. He had to, like, keep her off of him. And so, I don't think it's right. I don't think anyone I believe in body autonomy. That's a great time. If you have kids or teens, this is a great book. Let's talk about body boundaries, consent, and respect. And it talks about respecting the voice of others. So nobody has the right to put their hands on me. And I also now if I had a client, this happened recently, where a client was starting, they weren't hitting me, but they were kind of like they were and the parent was there and the parent was able to help assist. I didn't have to put my like hands on, but I did just have to, just block. And I think it was like a noodle. I think they had I'm laughing because it didn't hurt. I wasn't like it was fine. Um I have had other situations where I have had to involve the police. When I used to do intensive home-based therapy, I did have situations get out of control where I would get consent from the family or the situation if it got to the point where we did need to call the police, we had to do what we had to do. Um, but I don't think it's right for anybody to disrespect another person's body. I think what I would teach my son is that when if there was somebody uh so what my husband wants to say, and that's where he wants to teach him that like if another boy is coming at you, that, you defend yourself against a boy, but that you never defend yourself against a girl. And what I want him to understand the signs of coercive control. I want him to understand the red flags for safe and unsafe people. I think Sarah has red flags. I think she has red flags that some people might think, oh, but she's been through so much. 'Cause I'm sure she was at that bar that first day bad-mouthing her soon-to-be ex-husband. I'm pretty sure, but it is what it is. Ah, yeah, those videos were so I can just give us all a safe space to talk. I did post some resources, on my community tab, especially for people where that video brought up any specific traumas or triggers for them. It might also be good if you have a therapist just to give them a heads up. Um, I got into trial coverage with like Emily D. Baker, like because a client was the one during the Amber Heard Johnny Depp case. A client was like, I need to process what's happening. They were like, I need you to watch Emily D. Baker. And I had never heard of her before. 'Cause I think I was watching the trial on Law& and Crime or something, and I found Emily D. Baker, and I just absolutely adore, LawTube now, and so, like, that's where some of the ideas of covering this from a psychological perspective came from. Ugh. So, I think she thought him looking at a girl was cheating, but I think because she would legit be flirting with other guys. She's trying to get the police officers to hug her, and somehow that's not harmful. I don't understand. Love shouldn't hurt. And if it is hurting, I need to first ask the person to not hurt me. Like if it is something we can work out. So sometimes people are unintentionally harming other people. So and what I mean by that is in my family, we are very sarcastic. We have a dark sense of humor, and I've had to realize that that can sometimes come off mean. So if I take that same approach with my husband, so what I've learned about my sarcasm is I'm not sarcastic if I'm really upset. So sarcasm can sometimes be a way to say what you want without actually having to say it. So let's say I want my husband to take out the trash or something. And I say, oh, I guess we're just going to have trash wars today, but I'm really wanting him to take out the trash. I have to directly communicate. I need you to take out the trash. During COVID, that was one of the biggest things for me. I went through I've been in therapy before, but then during that whole period, I went back to therapy. It was like right after. I was fine during it, but like around 2022 or so, um, my husband was honest with me and I was on my phone way too much. Probably still am, but it's okay. But I was using it to disconnect and distract, but really there was more going on and I needed to talk to someone. And I was able to find a good therapist. We work together. And so sometimes if something's starting to hurt, sometimes communication can be helpful, but if the person keeps hurting me, they keep hurting me, they keep hurting me, I deserve better. They deserve if I'm hurting somebody else, they deserve better. Because there have been relationships where someone has had to communicate to me, "Hey, I don't like it when you do this." Like, "Oh, I didn't like," because we all have different boundaries, and so boundaries have to be stated. But if somebody consistently violates my boundary, that's a problem. And I don't think Sarah understood but she didn't want to. I don't think she wants to understand boundaries. Um, I think Brian would like to fade off into like I think he's probably glad he didn't get recalled because he was up to be recalled. He probably wasn't able to watch the rest of the trial. But yeah. So she was Baker acted. That's what it's called down in Florida. In Virginia, we call it a temporary detainment order where somebody is held for 48 hours against their will. In Virginia, the age of consent for mental health treatment is 12. I'll say that again. At 12 years old, a child has to sign themselves into the hospital. So if there's a 12-year-old that's having a mental health emergency, and their parent takes them to the hospital and that child refuses to sign themselves in, they can be TDO'd and they'll have to go there will be a hearing to determine does the child stay or not. And if the hospital wants the child to stay, the child's going to stay. But often the hospital tries to get the child to sign themselves in if they will if they will assent, because you have to be 18 years old to give consent. So if the child will agree to treatment, they try to get them to do it. But and there are people that once they go in front of the judge, they end up going home or they sign themselves into treatment, receive that treatment, and then they're discharged once their insurance stops paying. That's a whole thing. So with Carly Gregg, she lost her appeal, but that's at whatever level because they filed for a new trial and they lost that appeal. There will be more appeals, but she lost that her initial appeal. But that appeal said new information had come forward that during that interview that the dad did, that he had said something, and the news station came forward and released that full interview, and what was in the brief was never said, and so I think that that likely hurt the case, but yeah. Dr. Berry, until you said it, I never realized the video Sarah took outside the suitcase was more so that was worse for me. Gotta take off the glasses for this one. I thought the suitcase video was by far going to be so the treadmill video from the Corey I'm bad with names. I know it's hard to say, Mikiol, I'm bad with names, but from the Corey M case, that video, but now those videos of George being emotionally berated, beat down, gaslit, all of the signs of coercive control, and him being demeaned and treated less than human, less than animal. And that's where individuals with narcissistic personality disorder, they don't see others as people, they see them as objects. They see them as a means to an end. Individuals with that full personality disorder. So not everyone with narcissistic traits. We talk narcissism is a spectrum. It can be from like a few traits to like full-blown narcissistic personality disorder. I think if the state's expert had looked at everything, I'm thinking she probably would have diagnosed her with narcissistic personality disorder. Because watching those videos, I saw a few more of those DSM for me personally. I felt like we could check off a few more of the DSM criteria, for her, and the police videos, all of that. The state expert didn't need to look at all of that because the only thing that was at issue was the day of the crime. Was she justified in using self-defense? And the answer was no. They were having a good day, according to her. I don't believe they were having a good day. Arguing started at 7:30. She didn't even try to explain that. She tried to say, "Oh, neighbors don't remember. That was the night before." But like a proven like she's an alcoholic. Now, not that you can't believe any alcoholic, but like she lies. She lies over and over. And so I don't know that we'll ever know for sure. But yeah. Mm, right. I'm catching up very slowly. uh, Let me know if y'all have questions before we switch over to talk about Love is Blind. Yes, yes, yes. And we leave all of this behind. Oy. Oh, thank you. I try to comment there and on Law and Crime to maybe one day get invited. It's okay. I think as my channel grows, maybe one day I will be on a podcast. And once the podcast episode is released, I will definitely share it because on one day, I forgot. Was it Wednesday last week? Last week is a blur. I think it was Wednesday last week. I had a interview and that went well, and I was booked for that podcast. And once it's available, it's a true crime podcast. As I do things like that, the opportunities might open up. We'll see. But I also love being here. Woohoo, 7 months. Yay. Thank you for being a member for 7 months. I truly appreciate you all. Um, oh, we're talking about from Love is Blind, the guy with the long hair. So Annie asked, "Do I think that I can pull this one up? Do I think that George harmed her?" Um, I believe his family. I believe his family when they say, and I believe the videos I saw with my eyes. When he was drunk, he looked sad. He didn't look aggressive. She seemed aggressive. Correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. The videos I saw, he looked like depleted and he didn't look aggressive. The video that she played of the bat to the TV, that looked like she told him to do it. So I've had clients be able show me like security footage or somehow I've been able to see normally it's more like parents, sometimes parents. I ask parents, please, like if your child is escalated, don't record it. I believe you. Tell me what happened because recording someone is triggering. So like if your child's having an episode, just like get them calm, but don't pull out your camera and record it and never post it to social media. I do want to cover Sherry Frankie's statement. Sherry Frankie talked about child influencers and family vlog or family channels, and I am going to cover that probably on Tuesday. That'll be a nice palate cleanser, but a different kind of trauma. Sorry. All right. Uh, I didn't hear who the author of the book. Oh, sorry. So the book, the It's Not You, is Dr. Romani, and I will share. I think Amazon. I think that's my. I think if I share this, I think I have a list of books, and all of those books are there. Let me try to see. I have an Amazon shop. It is an affiliate link. You do not have to buy it if you prefer to buy books from um, from from Barnes and Noble or from other places, please buy them from your favorite site. So if you click on my Amazon link, I have self-help books. So right here in self-help books, I have Loving You is Hurting Me. And then if you scroll down, I should have It's Not You. I would think. I might have to add it if I don't have it towards the top. Sometimes I move things around. Here's my book. So my book is Turning Crisis into Clarity: How to Survive or Thrive. If I don't have it on here, I am going to add it. I don't think I have it. So, I will have to add the It's Not You by Dr. Ramani. I have her, YouTube page linked in this description. Laura Copley, I think that's how you say it, Copley? I'm bad with names. But The Loving You is Hurting Me. She talks about healing trauma bonds and, having authentic relationships. So, I have not read the entire book. I took a course with her last year where she talked about the premise of the book. It seemed good, and so I share. All right. Ooh, we're gonna keep scrolling. I agree. I think the TV incident was staged by her. I do. I think she told him to do I think the TV was broken, and I think she was gonna use it later. Like, she might have called the police. He broke my TV," or I don't know. "Hey, buddy, it's downstairs. Is that what you're looking for? If you put on your headphones, you can come in here, or you can listen in your room, okay? All right." Thank you for letting me parent for a second. Also, my second book is going to be Healing Generational Trauma Through Parenting. So, one of the best things you can do is make sure that you never speak to your child in a way that you wouldn't want other people to speak to them. And what I mean by that is, as a parent, I have to be kind. I have to make sure I'm not shaming, blaming. Now, I correct behavior. So earlier today, my child, he said something, he used a tone, and I was like, I was like, that the way you said that wasn't kind. I need you to try again. Or just like, next time, nope, I- let's have a redo. That was not kind. And then so I don't curse at my child. I don't berate my child. I don't say, "What's wrong with you?" Like, so I don't say those things. I don't say or do things that would be unacceptable for somebody else to do to my child. I don't use physical discipline because I would be upset if my son's teacher hit him, that would be an issue. So I don't put my hands on him because to me, love shouldn't hurt. Including parent but, like so I he has consequences. So the parenting I used, it's called positive parenting, conscious parenting, like, whatever you wanna say. What I do is and it's not permissive, so my child does not get away with stuff. We balance love and correction. So it's not all correction where it's authoritative and he can't do anything at all, and it's not permissive where he gets away with whatever he wants. No, like, so he does have consequences, but I want home to be safe. I don't want for me to be I don't wanna teach him that because I love you, I get to do this to you. Because I love you, I get to punish you this way? Mm, like, that can send a mixed message, and it can cause problems later. Fight me in the chat if you want. It just boosts me in the algorithm. I don't care. It's harmful. It sends a mixed message, and so for me, and what I teach the clients, so if a child is coming to me for therapy, and the parent is using physical discipline, I say like, "Hey, are you willing to try my way first? Are you willing to stop? Because if you're here in my office, there's a mental health problem, and which means there might be undiagnosed conditions that we don't even know about. There might be something else going on. We're here for mental health. I accept insurance, so I have to bill something. And so Are you willing to pause that and try it my way? Physical discipline, it can cause trauma responses. People pleasing is a trauma response. So there is um fawning. That's what it's so FAWN. And it's an old thing that I have up where I have trauma responses. It's an old video. And I think in that recent video where I talked about trauma in the brain, I'm trying to do better about going back and putting chapters in. I know I shared this image. Ooh, okay, good. I'm gonna share the screen. But one trauma response is called people pleasing. And the defense tried to say that Sarah was doing this. And in my opinion, that was a bunch of crap. I don't believe that at all, but that's just my own personal thought. So some people can go into fight mode, some people can go into flight, some people can go into freeze or fawn. And fawn is people pleasing, avoiding conflict, prioritizing the needs of others over your own, difficulty saying no, setting boundaries is hard. So I personally was spanked as a child. It never got to the point of being like legally, because in Virginia or any other, so in Virginia, corporal punishment is legal. There are just certain requirements. So it would have never been illegal. But I had a huge fawn response. And I've talked about this on the podcast with my mom about healing generational trauma. That was the inspiration for the book because sometimes we overlook this people pleasing. Like that's what I did. I had trouble saying no to people. I sometimes would go back and forth. And so and I wasn't not that bad kids should, but like this was a whole thing. So that's why I feel the way I feel. Make this bigger for if anybody wants to. And I used to have it over on my Instagram. I'm not sure if I have it over my Instagram, but I will share this link that has that there. I'm so behind on the chat, y'all. I'm getting there. I am getting there. Question: is the development of narcissistic traits the result of nature or nurture? So let's understand healing. So let's talk about healing from that type of harm that that individual can cause. I do not want to understand Sarah. I want to understand what could have helped George. I want to understand what people can do if they are involved in toxic and harmful relationships. So if they're I wouldn't want a friend to treat people I don't want people in my life that their presence in my life hurts me. I want to know that I have every right to be safe. Um he did have a cell phone. Yeah. And that's where I don't know if it was always on or if it always had minutes. I thought there was a phone with him in the suitcase, but it was dead by the time the next day. So I don't know if he had it, but that white phone was his. I'm catching up. Okay. Do you believe do y'all believe her story? No. I don't believe, that he hurt her the first date. I don't I don't at all believe that. I don't think she would've I don't at all believe it. I don't believe she might have been, like, verbally aggressive towards him the first day. "Oh, Dr. Barry, I'm a Twitch streamer, and I'm a legal education." "Oh, what do you mean?" "I'm a Twitch streamer, and I'm doing a legal education bit, and the male victim is an important aspect. Is it okay if I use this video for your explanation?" "Yes, you can share portions of this video. Thank you for asking. Please just mention Dr. Patrice Berry, follow her over on YouTube." I do have it. I've never went live on Twitch. I think I saved the username just so nobody else could, but I've never done it. Is the development of narciss Oh, yeah, I've already done that one. Alright. We're gonna focus on George. We are done with Sarah. So, I will answer this one because I don't think I've talked about this before. There is psychotic delusional, and that is Lori Vallow, and there is personality disorder, delusional, inability to accept reality, inability to see things the way they really are. Because I think in Sarah's mind, because I told y'all, number one, she wasn't going to lose it on the stand. She didn't even cry. I probably could have had a full out bungo if she had cried on the stand. She did not cry. I'm holding on to that bungo card because she might cry for herself at sentencing. So the jury isn't going to be there. So I do think come sentencing, I think she might muster up a tear for the judge. We might not even a tear. There might be some wiping at the face. I don't know. I think she'll try to figure out something. Somebody agreed that if it had been George, if the roles had been reversed, that she would have done that. So Sarah lacks insight. She, in my opinion, has no empathy. She is not able to put her to see the emotions of others. She looks at those videos and she sees that she's the victim. We all see he's the victim, not her. And so, yeah, those are my thoughts. Um, there we go. Yes. So Lee, I told y'all I'm so bad with names. That is the guy. He's on TikTok and I don't like endorse. I don't but that is somebody. Narcissist. Didn't even spell it right. Yes. So Lee Hammock, I will share this if anybody wants to, but it's Lee Hammock and he has a channel, Mental Illness, and this is what he does. He calls himself a self-aware narcissist, clinically diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, and he uses his diagnosis to help really survivors of that type of harm heal. And he goes with like, what if they block you? And so I know some other people that have done collaborations with him and that have went well. So that is that. All right. Thank y'all. The chat is amazing. And I'm at 207. So gosh, I'm never gonna get through all these. And so the reason why my channel is called Dr. Barry Responds is because I try to answer y'all's questions. Okay. I try to make sure that I get to y'all's questions. A lot of people will say that Sarah is evil, and I hate when we make like this good versus evil, this black versus white like comparison. But when I say like all good, all bad comparison, I it's really it's hard to see any like I don't know. There might be somebody that likes Sarah. I don't know, um, but when we take it to that, it feels I I try to be careful with it, but uh and so we're done with Sarah. um Somebody said that her sadism almost made them physically sick. And it reminded me of Ruby Frankie. So I wasn't able to read, so I never shared the excerpts from Ruby Frankie's journal of what she said about her children. Like, I did not want to understand her brain. I think I said similar things with because somebody probably asked me to cover her journal, and I was like, God, no, like I can't do it. Do you believe that she feels that everything is against her? Yes. She's the victim in this. She didn't even look shocked. She didn't look Her lawyer said she was shocked. I didn't when I when the jury said it, I didn't see a change in her emotional expression. It was on I'm sure her lawyers prepared her like, "Hey, if the jury comes back in under a day, it's probably not gonna be good for you." And so, it was less than an hour and a half. So Haley asked if I think she did the videos for her to rewatch them. She was drunk. She was blackout drunk. She doesn't remember recording those videos. I don't believe her when she says that she magically remembers recording them, but somehow doesn't remember what happened 9 minutes before. Like, so the prosecutor was phenomenal in saying, wait a minute, how does she not remember taking that picture, but somehow she remembers, and then we're supposed to trust her memory when she's probably like 3 times the legal limit, and we're not supposed to believe the neighbors next door that aren't. um, yeah, that aren't in her predicament. So it's a whole thing. Do you feel George was trying to leave? I do. I think that could have been something. We're just speculating. I think it could have been. Um, Please do a video on how people end up with behaviors like so. I don't know if that would be helpful. I try to do things that are helpful. What's more common? Because so Sarah's not going to change. I'll say that again. Sarah is not going to change. Now, can those behaviors be treated? So that I could do a video on that, on treating narcissism for individuals that do have traits, for people that do have that are narcissistically defended, or so the root of narcissism is low self-esteem. I have said this in the past. If Sarah was my client, my first step would be it would be painful, but I would do it. So the first 2 to 3 sessions would be establishing boundaries and relationship for therapy, because I think she would be one that would think, "Oh, I can call you at any time. I can do whatever I want, so I can show up when I want." So the first part would be setting boundaries. I think she would have some motive for coming. So sometimes there's court orders for treatment, or court orders for evaluations or things like that. Um, the next thing I would do is redirect or start to push back on her narrative, because Sarah Boone sees herself as the perpetual victim. And so the goal would be for her to take ownership of what is in her control. She was so busy trying to control him, fix him, change him, and her life was a hot mess. Like, ma'am, why are you trying to fix him and you're not fixed? Like that's the definition of codependence, I believe. Like when you're so busy all up in somebody else's life and your life is falling apart. No. So the first thing would be for her to focus on her. Cuz I think so if Sarah Boone came to therapy, she'd want to talk about everything and everyone else, or if she was talking about herself, it would be to have the therapist feel sorry for her in that kind of way. And so I would do skills treatment. Possibly dialectical behavior therapy, skills building. I don't think she would like that, because I think she would want to have control of the narrative, and I, um there would probably be parts of her personality, parts of her story that was difficult to connect with, and I would give her feedback on you're noticing all and listening to you, you seem to be at the center of all of this chaos and drama. How can we help you like not react? So she's very reactive, I think. And so how can we help you manage your emotions? How can we help you do this? It breaks my heart that George was in DV offender classes, because in those classes they have you take responsibility for your part. And I think he was trying to do that. But at the same time, they weren't teaching him the signs that you're not in a safe relationship. Is this relationship just toxic? I hope that's a change. I do hope that George's family, um, maybe some law can change. There aren't a lot of states in the United States that have coercive control, as like that it's illegal to withhold somebody's birth certificate and ID. What? How can she think that's hers? It's just ridiculous. And he, in my opinion, he would never say what she was doing to him. And she would freely and easily say everything that I think some of it was lies. That's my own personal thought. That's my own personal thought. A lot of people think that that picture might have been makeup. It could have been. It could have been. He might have kicked her pretty hard in the face. I don't think. I don't. Okay. Do you think she may be masking, using the intelligence she had to learn to project? I'm not saying she's good at it. I don't think so. But that's my own thoughts. Um, it is hard for people who have survived to see her manipulate the system the way that she did, and that's where I wish there had been more tools and help for George. I really do. Welcome, Susie. All right. Her whole not intentional, and her lawyer even said, "It was not intentional." Okay, so I'm just gonna catch up. I'm just gonna skip. If there are any new questions, because I have skipped so far in the chat, because 'cause I'm now on track. And I missed whatever funny thing Kurt said. Are there any questions that you all have before we switch to the next stream? If you'd like to stay on for Love is Blind, please do. If not, no worries. I think she has to appear for sentencing, and I hope she has to hear the victim impact statements to hear the impact of what she did. That's why I'll cover it. Oh, I will cover that because I do think at least 2 of George's family members, I think it might be his daughters, because his daughters spoke on court TV. I think they'll be the ones that do that. I think Monopoly. Monopoly is one of my favorite board games. Also Spades, but that's not a board game. That's a card game. But I'm a bit ornery. I'm a bit oppositional. I love doing things my way. That's why I don't like the diagnosis oppositional defiant disorder. I don't like it. What impact do you think the state's comment in closing about George being the victim of battered spouse was? So I think they believed the state. Based on everything that happened, I do not believe the jury thought she was the victim or in that moment that she was justified in doing what she did. She should have let him out. And if she let him out, I think that would have been, like, one of the worst things. I saw this on her son, Colby Ryan. I saw that on his stream, and he thought it was so that she can say her narrative, that she can continue this, like, ridiculous narrative. So her case in Arizona, I believe, she's trying to go pro se, probably to, like, introduce some I don't know. It would be, because I think they're looking at her competence again. They might be looking at her competence again. Does she make him get in the and so my speculation is that he wanted to leave. Okay. This is Dr. Barry's speculation. As a true crime enthusiast, this is what I personally think happened. I do not know if this is true. Sarah Boone will never ever tell us what happened. I think they were upstairs in the bedroom. She probably told him to leave, and he said, "Fine, Sarah. Let me just get my stuff. I'll go. I'll go right now. I'm so tired of you, I'm just gonna I'll go." And I think he was gonna try to go. I wish we knew more about everything that was in the suitcase because I don't think it came out exactly, like, everything that was in the suitcase. And then I think she said, "Fine, if you're gonna go, you better get in that suitcase." And she berated him, and he was like, "Fine." Like, he got in the suitcase. I think she zipped him up, and then I think that's what the neighbor heard come down the steps. And then I think she took the picture, she sat on the couch, he continued to say he couldn't breathe. She sat it up, he continued. She said to, "Shh." I think at some point he passed, and she went to sleep. That next morning when she woke up and realized what had happened, I think she cleaned. That never came up in court. So the true crime people noticed that there were drag marks on the floor in the picture, but the next morning in the police photos, there were no drag marks by the suitcase. I think she cleaned that next morning. Who knows what it looked like that morning? Brian was calling her all morning. She finally calls him back after whatever, okay, and then everything that we know happens. So those are my own personal thoughts. I don't know if it's true, just my own, because we'll never know what happened. But in my mind, that makes more sense than hide and seek. So if you say tag, you're it. Even house rules, who when you're it, you don't go hide. That's not how the game works. That's just not how the game works. Sorry, I didn't answer this one. What effects do you think George's mom will he have? It was probably traumatic seeing how her son died. They got justice the same day. I'm sure they were relieved. I don't it was hard for me to see it, and I never met George. As a mom, I think she knew what happened. I don't think because try to do this without crying. That is her son, and to hear your son begging for his life as she says all the stuff she says, traumatic loss, losing someone to the hands of by the hands of someone else, that's a different kind of loss than like a car accident or cancer or something. Loss is hard, but this type of grief is different. I do not know if his mother will be able to speak. I don't know if she'll give an impact statement. I hope somebody, um, like, I hope she's able to, because maybe someone else could read it for her. Sometimes victim advocates do that. I don't know if she'll want to read it. I did also share. She did an interview a while back with a news station. I think with a local news station, and I think there were one or two of the brothers there. I shared one of those interviews once y'all told me it was there. On civil law, Kurt, I can't with you. He was so childlike and just ugh. So I am glad that her child no, so, I th so there is Surviving the Survivor, where Joel tells his story. There's another guy where his, I think, father murdered his mother. He has, like, a podcast. Um, I hope that the child, her that Sarah's child, I hope that the kids, he didn't do anything wrong, like, and he knew George, and George played with him. George was nice to him. George was kind to him. That's my understanding. Because if he hadn't been, I think something would have come out in court, and nothing ever came out in court that was to the contrary of that. And so, that's hilarious. You play spades every day. So, I do wish everyone the best as they heal. This is different. I do feel like they can start this process knowing she's going second degree. Her minimum is 22 and a half. The judge might give her life. As much the judge really might give her life. I do think she projects every emotion onto anybody else other than herself. Not just, I think everything she projected onto him. So, it's hard. So, I never blame the victim. So, I've worked with individuals that stayed for financial reasons. Because remember, if he left, he had to go to his mom's house, and he might have felt like a burden. Like, he might have felt now his mom would have, "I would rather you be here than be there with her." And they did clarify, they never called her a white blue-eyed dragon, like, they never they because 'cause that almost it would probably be devil, like, it would be but they never said that about her, like, they never that wasn't the nickname. If they had a nickname for her, that one wasn't it. She was lying again, because white blue-eyed dragon, that almost sounds like a compliment. No? I don't know. I don't know. So trauma bonds are real, and people can become bonded with the person that's harming them. Stockholm syndrome, they try to say Sarah had it. No. We saw the video. We saw the videos. If there was anything like that that existed anywhere of George doing anything like that to her, we would have seen it. And if he had ever spoken to her in a way she didn't like, she would have recorded him. I think it would have been recorded. I can't. I can't with her. I can't. Do you have any contact? Wait a minute. Do you Oh. Oh, uh, so I do not, so I'm not accepting clients. So I don't do this to have clients or anything like that. If you're looking for a therapist in your area, I have resources in my description for how to find a therapist in your area. I have a therapeutic resources tab if people have if people are looking for certain things. Let me show you on my channel. I also have, let me share. I think I'm sharing the right tab. Yes. Just need to make myself small. Okay. So if you scroll on my channel to so other channels you might like. If you click here, can y'all see this? Yes, good. Let me make myself smaller. Okay. So if you love like reality TV and relationships and healing from that type of Mickey Adkins is amazing. I have Dr. Ramani's channel here. I also have Psychology in Seattle. He does like one episode. So I like his channel, but like and he has really good information. Really, really good information. Uh I have to watch him on like 1.5 speed, but that's how my brain works. So I have some of my favorite channels here. I will have to add therapy in a nutshell. Therapy in a nutshell. This is a channel that has a ton of resources. She has court, but like like she has free resources, and then I think she does do some coaching or some other stuff too. So I'm here for fun. I'm here for fun, and then I have a book. That book there, Turning Crisis into Clarity: How to Survive or Thrive in the Midst of Uncertainty. That's what I have there. All right. So that's where the first step. Marriage therapist, if there's current DV, they will not do marriage therapy. If there's active DV, good marriage therapist, because there has to be safety. We can't work on it if it's not safe, because what's best for this relationship might be for it to end. So if there's active DV, marriage therapists, they'll often say, "Y'all separate, let's work individually, and then figure out what's best individually, and then come back together if it's safe to come back as a couple." Like, that's often what happens if there is an unsafe relationship. And when I say unsafe, I mean that there is DV. Because there's difference between, like, just, um, we're triggering each other, but it's not unsafe, and that's where, the book that I talked about earlier, Hurting You is Hurting Me, she does talk about working with people, but and I think she has some steps in her book to determine, like, can we work on this together? But I don't think Sarah was gonna change. I don't think she saw anything wrong with what she was doing. She saw him as the problem. She never thought she was doing anything wrong, and anyone that suggested it, she would get so defensive and upset, like, "What are y'all gonna do, arrest me?" And she's the one doing stuff too. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. She always felt justified in what she did, and it is ugh. How would you begin therapy with George? So my first step to George would be, I can see how much you love her. Is there any part of you that has concerns about her? And I would just listen. So I would just listen. And then it would be um, getting him to the place that just like working on his self-esteem, trying to get him sober. And then can you work towards sobriety with her there? And then I would also ask him, if your daughters were in your situation, what, or if your brother, if your brother was in this situation, if your daughter, if someone you loved was in this situation, what would you tell them to do? And almost every person I've ever worked with, they would say, leave. And relationships, like, you should have the ability to leave. And if she gets a court order against you, like, finish your classes, get off probation. See if you want, I know she wants you, which can feel nice. Like, it can feel, but, like, does she want you for the right reasons? I would teach him about the power wheel, um, that power wheel that she was studying. Ridiculous. I can't with her. Power wheel control. Okay, so let me share this. Okay, let me make this smaller. And, I've seen one power wheel that has a healthy wheel of what a healthy relationship looks like, and then what one that's filled with emotional harm. And I don't think, yeah, emotional harm is on that power and control wheel. And so, I would tell them that. I would, um, try to get them to see that they deserve better. I don't know that I think I think he was the one with the low self-esteem that didn't know that he deserved better. She was being mean, like, rude, like this, ugh, that's not love. So I've said, "If that's love, hate me." I've heard Wade Wilson's phone calls. If that's love, I don't ugh, like, I don't that is not love to me. And so, now it would be the person's decision to stay or go. It is really common that an individual that's in an unsafe situation, they will often leave and go back. It's really, really common because when they leave, sometimes that's when they start feeling worse. There's a lot of grief. They miss the person, which is because sometimes you're like, if I'm really hurting, why would I miss them? No, like you are. Like they're not. So Sarah might have been good sometimes. I don't know. Or maybe there might have been something good about their relationship. Maybe when they were doing puzzles and he was doing exactly what she wanted, maybe sometimes things were okay. I don't know. Normally there is a honeymoon phase, like normally, and then tension builds, and then there's an escalation. That is that cycle of violence. And because of that cycle, the person does always long for maybe it'll go back to that first date. I think their first date was probably good. It probably was. And then to help with the gaslighting that like I get you did some things, but then also mm, like yeah, and so that's where I don't believe her, because something came down the stairs that night, and she won't say what it was. Her her 98-pound self getting coming I'd like, it wouldn't make that noise that shakes the wall. Him in a suitcase? Mm, alright. Why was Owen so obsessed with geography? Like, where people are from? And almost like he wanted the jury to have sympathy for how long he traveled? Why did yes. So this was the individual, he has a channel as well. I have watched that. Uh, yeah, because I start talking and then I miss all the chat. I can't do both of those at the same time. Okay, I think I answered that one. I think I did, yes. I would go over the signs of gaslighting. I think my thing went back up. Thank you for your thoughtful and measured content in general, but specifically around this case. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And if anyone hears of the family starting a foundation or starting anything, please, oh, please let me know because I would like to make a donation to the family. But I want to make sure that it's going legit to them. So if anyone hears of the family doing something, please, please, please let me know. So I have a whole playlist on Sarah Boone. Today's about George. I'm trying, and some of the questions because I get, but yes. So love his content is so good. His style, so Mickey's style is more neurospicy. I like Mickey. Mickey's style is more his is very just like and it's good, but like his style is different, which isn't bad. It's just yeah. I like reality TV. What do you mean? If you do not have to stay for the next video if you don't want to. Thank you, Karen, for sharing the book. Oh, did I? Okay. Do, do, do. Yes, Mickey. Yes, and they're all on my channel. All of those recommendations except the Mickey Atkins, but she's there, except the therapy in a nutshell. Um, what can a loved one do for someone in a highly controlling or abusive relationship? Love that person, um, get them education. There might be like a short Instagram video, like a short there might be something that's not saying this person is a narcissist or you know what I mean? It's just like, "Hey, like" and then being there for them. It's hard to leave with children. I've, um I've seen people stay for the kids, and that's not good, because the kids are seeing the dynamics, the kids are seeing what's happening. Justice for George. Justice for George. I'm so glad. I was really scared that she was gonna get manslaughter or one of the lower ones. Alright. Aw, you have my book, yay! Following the saga. You also have Matt Murphy's book, nice. So Dr. Harper was a good expert. I think she believed Sarah, if I haven't said that yet. I think she believed her, which, okay. And she was the expert for and, um, I think she went with what Sarah said, and based on what Sarah said, okay, she met that criteria. The jury obviously did not believe it was justified that day, and Sarah never told her about what happened during those minutes. So have I ever worked or treated somebody in a prison jail setting? So during my internship, I did screenings for juvenile justice. So for every kiddo that came through, we screened them for trauma because it's really common for individuals with trauma to be involved with the justice system. And the jail had a trauma informed care lens, and kids that did have certain histories would get certain treatment. And then I worked in residential. I have done assessments of people of teens in jail settings. I have not done forensic work. So I have not worked with somebody in jail settings. So when I became a psychologist, I wanted to work with kids and teens. And so I did focus in juvenile settings and things, but not so my brain, so I read and I see. That's why sometimes I just talk and then I look at the comments. This was my what are you notorious for? Because I think everybody would say drinking. Drinking and being mean, extremely mean. All right. I like that Dr. Ramani focuses on the individuals that are harmed by this type of behavior and not on the person doing the harm. Because in psychology, we have a lot of resources for the person causing the harm, and yet they're not likely to ever come for treatment. It's it can happen, but it's not as common as seeing somebody that has um, that's been impacted by it. Doo, doo, doo. I saw that as gaslighting, and I hope the jury heard that too. He's look at what you made me do. It seemed like revenge. She described revenge. She did not just she never seemed afraid. She didn't seem afraid of him at any point. She was the one tormenting him. He seemed afraid of her. I hope I answered that question. Support them, get them these resources. I think I did that one. So I think I have a video on toxic work environments. So I have a therapeutic resources playlist. And some of you all, when I did the trauma video, some of you all wanted more resources. So let me see playlist, content. Let's go to playlist. So I have the media and entertainment. There are 26 Sarah Boone videos. So if you would like to binge my Sarah Boone, I have a whole 26 page or 26 episode Sarah Boone playlist. I also have other court and trial coverage. I have the Lori Vallow stuff taken out, tips for anxiety, and then I have like a therapeutic resources. What videos are on this? Uh-oh. Oh, where's videos on here? Tips for coping with severe anxiety, ADHD. So I have a bunch of stuff here. So please check out this tab. Um, All right. So there's a lot of stuff there. And then if y'all have ideas for new videos, if you put them over in the regular comments part, it's easier for me to track those than the live comments. Okay? Cuz the hard part is that with work environments, like that can be really hard. So sometimes with some clients, we've had to like look for another job. Like that sometimes. Karen, thank you for adding that. Um Karen, you are awesome. Karen also does legal coverage. She's a lawyer out in the UK and covers cases from here. All right. And so I was so nervous that that George was not going to get justice. I am so glad that he did. If you have not seen the interview with his family, they felt that she was doing a smear campaign. That wasn't the language they used. So individuals with narcissistic traits will often ruin um the what's the word? They will try to ruin their impression with everyone else, and it's called a smear campaign. And if somebody does that to you, and if somebody believes what that person has said about you, there's often nothing you can say to change their mind. Um, and that actually happened with a creator that I collaborated with. They have an ex that goes online and like says a lot of things about them. And this creator, I never got any feeling that they had any narcissistic traits. Or now I'm not like I don't know what they're like in a relationship. But I asked the person because we had done a podcast together, and they were getting like there was a whole smear campaign going on TikTok, and I asked them to like if they could hold off on publishing a podcast that we did together, and they did. And then, about a month or 2 later, everything died down and the smear campaign was over, like, everything was fine, and then, I reached back out to the person to say, like, "Hey, you can go on ahead and release it if you like." But the person, they never defended themselves. They never gave any of the accusations or any of the things the person was saying. They never even brought it to light because it was just so outrageous. They just were like, "Well, I'll just let it fizzle out." Um, and, um, and so if someone believes that other person and they don't even talk to you, they don't even ask your side of the story, they don't do any of that, which is hard because sometimes people can lose friendships, they can lose relationships, but that is that narcissistic person, in my opinion, that antagonistic person that's trying to isolate them from anyone that could be on their side. And that's where we talk about triangulation. And that's what Sarah Boone would try to have the police on her side to have them against George. She would try to have his family. She desperately wanted his family to be on her side, and it never came out in court. In court, there was an allegation that she had, like, so she always wanted physical affection, like, more than what his family was like, it was weird, like, she wanted physical affection. There was an allegation that she had, like, knocked over someone, like, I think an elderly person, maybe his grandfather or father, something. Y'all know me and my details sometimes. If I don't have it in front of me, I don't know. But she had done things, and that stuff didn't even come out in court, and so I don't believe her. I just don't. I did think that maybe something it was George's dad, thank you. It was just so mean, and I think she did her best to control it, but she had never seen it, and so I think that was an honest reaction. I just I just can't with them. Alright. So I I did think I said this a little bit earlier in the video because a lot of people thought Sarah had borderline personality features, and I told y'all over and over again. There might be one video where I was like, "Well, maybe," but then it was like, "No, no, this is clearly primarily narcissistic traits." That's how I felt. Sometimes people can have like a mix of different traits, but like it was really that. The reason neither Dr. Harper nor Dr. Warner could testify to what Sarah Boone and Sarah didn't tell them though. So maybe it's cluster B. So they asked Sarah and she didn't tell them. I did agree with the prosecution that Dr. Harper could have asked her, like that thing that triggered her to not let him out the suitcase. I would have wanted to know what that thing was. Met with him 9 times. I agreed even as a therapist. So if my client said right before I had this big argument, he said something that made me mad, I would have wanted to know what that thing was. So I in the middle of one of the Sarah Boone videos, I'm so sorry. It's one of the last 3. It might have been Wednesday. No, might have been, I don't know. Might have been, I don't know which day. I covered a portion of it. I covered her brother's testimony because he was laughing. It was weird. I do think um, with her, what's the word? If they do the pre-sentencing investigation, I'm interested to see if any mental health stuff comes up for her. I don't think it explains what she did. What she did was wrong, and she lied. And she should go to jail for a long time, in my opinion. Yeah, she's charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder, so yes. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, thank you. I did cover Ashley Benefield case. I felt she was also controlling, so if you're, like, really, really pro Ashley Benefield, you might not love my case. Uh, I yeah, but you might not love my video. There were some things that had me questioning if she was trying to get rid of him. That was just my thought. Now, I think he was controlling. I think I think there were things going on. I don't think she was completely honest with him, and there was a lot. There was a lot. There was a lot. I think she was trying to get him to Maryland so that she could file for custody, and then I don't know. She did seem to show signs of trauma and PTSD when the prosecutor asked her to display how he asked, they had her reenact the crime, and she was shaking trauma. Like that was to me that seemed authentic. Um, but yeah. Do, 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 do. I don't think she had PTSD. I didn't see any PTSD signs. I think and some people might say that she was so emotionally detached, that's why she came off like with no emotion. I don't think so. I don't think she was telling the truth. I don't think she was telling the truth, in my opinion. And that's where I also think that she had some narcissistic traits that preceded uh her relationship with George. And it's my understanding that he was never harmful in any prior relationship. That's my understanding. Um, their relationship sounded extremely toxic, and so that is a whole thing. So now I will give y'all 2 minutes. Any more questions about Sarah Boone? Questions only. Any questions? Or we're gonna go to the next stream. Okay, good. So some people came to me from Melody Little. So Melanie Little is a lawyer, and I think she heavily sided with Ashley Benefield. I disagreed some about some of the things. I left it up to the jury. Like if the jury had found her not guilty, I would have understood it. I thought it was weird that they had a child. So they had Ashley Benefield's child outside saying with a sign that said, "Do not lock up my mommy." I thought that was strange. Um, okay, good. I wasn't like so all of those things were extremely problematic for me. You don't bring a child into the middle of that. You just don't. And to me, that's prioritizing what you want and not necessarily prioritizing the child. You did a thing. Self-defense is a defense. That's gonna be up to a jury. Don't do crimes. Like, don't it's easy. It's easy. None of the courts I think some of her allegations against him were false. There's also, there's a lot of question marks for me about her. Now, I think there were problems. I think the relationship had problems, but I think it was really complicated. That's just my own personal thoughts. Um so I can't speak to people's individual experiences, or I will get in trouble with my licensing board. Like, that's a real thing. So that's why I can't give y'all that's why this is not therapy. This is just general education and information. If people have questions, I would find somebody in your area. There is a type of treatment called EMDR. For some people, it is helpful. It is eye movement desensitization reprocessing. It can be really helpful in helping process some of the trauma. There's also a book, it's extremely triggering. So some people do not like this one. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. And so trauma lives in our body and working through that somatically, like physically, can be helpful. Therapy in a nutshell, they have resources for trauma triggers. I share a lot of her resources with my trauma survivors as well. I hope that's helpful. Um, so I don't know. I wonder if she was restricting his food. He seemed to look sicker and sicker. Y'all correct me in the chat. I wonder because I think she might have had a food issue for herself. And because they weren't on meth or cocaine or anything like that. And so I wonder if she restricted his food or if they couldn't he seemed really small to me. Um Towards the end with him with his he seemed he could be naturally that skinny. Some people have great, thyroid, but he looks sick to me. And trauma affects the body. EMDR is awesome for people with CPTSD with a developmental trauma. Sometimes EMDR can be too much. Um, nice, and that's where sometimes we can both. So that's where people can because I went on her channel and we talked about that case. She's also very pro like Carly Gregg and but I think because she's the one that talks about children are viewed as property and not people. That's why children that's how children are viewed, and that's why parents can and so I have an issue with that. I have an issue with things, and so just control. She was not a good person, in my personal opinion. She did bad things. Because when you have a pattern of behavior like that, I think that's when I can say, "Not so much a great person." Um So good. Somebody else mentioned that EMDR helped with their CPTSD. I've had some clients that it's been helpful for, and then some other clients that did not do well with it. EMDR, it's because when traumas happen, they don't get filed away properly. Because if a bear is chasing me, I don't need to remember all of the details, and that's not going to be a typical memory. And, with chronic trauma, that's how life can kinda be, that there are these just fragments. That's why individuals that say, "I don't remember anything before the age of 15 or 16," typically not all, but, normally, there's chronic stress. There's something that happened where those memories didn't get filed. Not necessarily physical essay, but sometimes there's major conflict in the home or children exposed to DV or children exposed to a parent's substance use or abuse or children exposed to a parent with a significant mental health problem. Normally there's a major stressor that happens when people don't remember periods of time. And EMDR is a way to help, you know, locate some of those things. Because with your therapist, normally what'll happen is you'll start telling a story and they'll say, "Stop. What just happened there? And where does that show up in your body?" And they'll kind of help you reprocess certain aspects of things. And when you process it, it helps the memory not pop back up. So what flashbacks are biologically, like what a flashback is it's this memory that hasn't been stored away and it just pops up randomly. And it's something that a person doesn't have any control over. And there are therapies that can help reprocess it. Uh, I haven't studied this enough, so uh and sometimes alcoholics focus more on the alcohol, so they don't buy food, they buy alcohol. They buy wine instead of buying food. So I don't know if it's as much suppressing appetite as like, and so it just because also they didn't have a ton of money. So sometimes what happens is they focus on using the money for alcohol and not food because they were buying those like $9 mega pints. That's what I think that's what it called. Um, they were buying that instead of vodka because vodka was more expensive. Right. George's family seemed like a really good, solid family. I agree. His ex-wife said there was no DV. Yep. He was he like the only problem was that he was a ladies' man. All right. Thank y'all oh, wait a minute. Okay, I'm gonna try to do all the questions. Do you think EMDR would help with so you'd have to ask someone that specialized in eye movement desensitization reprocessing. I'm a little dyslexic, so like it's like what was the D? So yes. Yes. Dr. Tracy, thank you for saying that. Sometimes, with headphones, sometimes we call it bilateral stimulation, going from one side to the other. People can also take like a stress ball or something and just like watching from side to side. There are a lot of great resources on YouTube for polyvagal or for calming traumatic responses. So. That whole steak incident, that was weird, and I wonder if number 1, if she did it to herself, like, if she acts I could see couldn't y'all see her accidentally, like, hurting herself and then blaming him that he did it, but, like, she because you gave it to me on a plate, like, I don't know that he did it, and he's not here to defend himself, and her story didn't make any sense. Why are we eating steak on the bed in the room? Well, I don't it just none of any of that stuff made sense to me, and so, George isn't here to share his story. I do not believe it happened the way that she said it. I think on the police report, it was that they were sword fighting, and they did kinda some like, she had him do very childish, childlike things. She, was very controlling. The prosecution did a phenomenal job. The Star Wars references were amazing, like, it was a mess. My final thought, if males can be harmed too. And we saw that with the Menendez brothers, with and now they did their thing and they've spent over 35 years in jail and it'll be up to a board to decide what happens to them. But in their case, they were not the prosecutor did not believe that males could be the victims of SA. So that part did not even come into their trial. And so George deserved to live. He deserved to not have his rights violated. He deserved to be let out and to have the ability to leave if that's what he wanted to do. It is literally kidnapping to not let somebody leave. Who wants to leave? Except, like, it's like, yeah. So it's a whole thing. So I appreciate you all. Give me just like 2 minutes before I start the next stream. If you're going to stay on for Love is Blind, drink some water, take care of yourself, breathe, watch something funny, like decompress. This trial was heavy and hard, and it might have brought up things for a lot of people. And so that's why I try to share some resources and things for people. I appreciate you all so much. I will see y'all in the next one.